Hey, peace and blessings to you. My name is Jerry B. I am the EntreMusician, and so are you. And so is this dynamic sister who's sitting to the left of your screen. I don't know how to introduce her because what doesn't she do? Singer, songwriter, composer for film and TV, video game music, artist, poetry. I mean, I don't know where it ends. She's too busy. I'm glad that she slowed down enough to just hang out with us here at the EntreMusician. And here's the thing, one of her most important attributes, and I'm sure she would agree to this, is the fact that she is a bona fide member of the EntreMusician Mastermind Collaborative. She's like the scribe of the group. She keeps us all in line. And I'm so grateful that she's sitting down, hanging out with us now. We're going to find out more than we ever have before from my little sis, whom I love and respect. This is Jessica Jenks. How you doing, dear heart?
Thank you for that amazing introduction.
I'm
I'm doing
grateful
well.
for you.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm grateful for you and all the people that I've met through Entre Musician. It's great.
It's growing. I tell you
Yeah.
what. Hey, let me ask you because obviously I'm preaching it all the time from my stump, but what is your take on the Entre Musician Mastermind since you've been a part of the family?
I think it's a really strong group of people, professionals, peers in the industry
Yeah.
that are warm and welcoming. It's not intimidating. And there's just a lot of potential for growth right now.
Yeah.
So, the more it grows, the more we can start branching out and helping each other out. And it's just awesome. And I really hope that it goes very, very far. I know it will actually. So,
Well, because you're a part of it. And as I was saying before, you're like the scribe. You keep everything on point. You make sure that we are connected, have the right links. And, it really does speak to your spirit because I find that you are a very generous spirit. Like any entre musician, you don't try to hoard information. You share your resources. If you think something's going to work, you're just right at it. Have you always been that way? Or is that something that, you've learned in the business or? I mean that
I,
because, there are different personalities, but
oh,
yours is always so generous.
well, thank you. I appreciate that. I guess I think of myself as kind of like the cheerleader that never was a cheerleader. When I was in kindergarten, at Christian school, actually, I went to private school in kindergarten in first grade, and then went to public school after that. But they used to have this opportunity for little girls to be cheerleaders on the
Mhm.
sideline of the basketball games.
Yeah.
So I had my own pom poms. I was working on my high splits at home when I was a little kid, and I always wanted to be a cheerleader. Always was high energy at home anyway. I was more of a shy girl, like out, but I was very hyper at home, and and just anything that I believe in,
Yeah.
I I want to tell everybody about it.
Yeah. It's interesting for me because I asked that as a real question because, it's in people's spirits to be generous. I went through a process as a musician where I was really very open. And then there seemed to be a period of time in my formative years where I became very competitive and very closed off and the Lord had to open my heart again to say, hey, this is not for you. I had begun to develop like a poverty mindset, a more self-centered mindset. And it was like, and this is how we grow as entre musicians because it's not just for you. There's so much out here for everybody, and you can share, and it's okay to share. And that's
That's
what I
right.
see in you.
That's right.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Now,
That's
what are you working on? I mean, you're working hard. You have a SoundCloud page that is just infinite. What what are you working on right now?
I don't even know anymore. No, I'm kidding. I like to joke around, as you know, but
Understood.
it's like, what am I not working on? Yeah, I decided to go back to school again as an adult student. I finished my associate's degree in 2018, and within that year, I graduated with an Associate of Science in Liberal Arts Social Sciences. I was actually going back as a marketing management and entrepreneur
Mhm.
major, but the dean of student affairs actually called me,
Yeah.
and she was like, "We're using one of your old lab sciences, and we're getting you out of here. You got to go and get your bachelor's degree." So I graduated with 127 credits
Wow.
from community college, and then I realized, like, over the past year, that I felt like there's got to be something that will push my career forward. There's got to be something that I don't know here,
Mhm.
because you start to realize as an entrepreneur your gaps in your learning as a business person,
Yeah.
or so I thought about school again, and I ended up finding Liberty University's online music program, and
Yeah.
they had just developed their Bachelor's of Science in Commercial Music.
Mm.
So they're a private university, they're not for profit.
Mhm.
So I was able to get grants, a Pell Grant. Actually, it was a no-brainer to go back to school.
Understood.
And I love my classes so much. I love the teachers, and it's just so fun. And there's lots of business classes too, which I totally get pumped about.
Yeah, absolutely. So musician,
That's
entrepreneur,
right.
you're just putting it together.
Yeah.
That's excellent. Now tell me your story. How did you get started? Did the academia come first or did the artsy creative music come first?
Yeah, I don't remember a time when I wasn't writing music,
Mhm.
actually. Like, even as a little girl, I would stand with my face to the screen at the end of every movie trying to figure out who wrote the song that I loved in the movie, or um, that was like my favorite part. And if my
Mhm.
dad turned the TV off at the end of the movie, I would get so upset. It was like a
For the
major
credits, you wanted
event.
to see the credits.
Exactly. That was my favorite part. So, I mean, and that actually says something, I guess. Like, you got to give the people that work at producing a movie,
Yeah.
music, all this stuff that goes into it. You
Mhm.
have to give them credit. You have to pay attention. You
Yeah.
have to pay attention to who is doing the awesome work that they're doing. And but yeah, I had a little keyboard when I was a little girl. Um, it was actually mono. You
Mhm.
could only play one note at a time,
I
which was,
see.
I didn't realize what was going on, but
Because
it
you
always
heard all
bothered
of this
me.
melody and you can only
Yeah. Hey, you know what? That probably helped me develop writing my melodies. I don't know.
Mm,
But
yeah.
and also I have my grandmother's organ right here. You can't see it, but I used to play on that a lot. I used to write poetry. Um I'd be singing songs to my bird, uh mixing and mastering on my tape cassette player.
Oh, yeah.
And
Understood.
I would have my little radio under my pillow at night,
Mhm.
like with it on really low. And I think a lot of musicians, I've heard other musicians say this, that they used to sneak listen to music as kids.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like
Oh, yeah.
Casey's Top 40.
Oh, yeah.
I had to hear Casey's Top 40.
Yeah. Now, so what intrigued you? I mean, not just his voice and the way he set it up, because I listened to KC as well, and I was really intrigued with his voice and just his
Yeah.
his demeanor. Dick Clark was another thing, but you had Casey Kasem, who you didn't see do his thing, but
Yeah.
was it the anticipation of what was going to be number one that week, or
Oh,
or
yeah.
what was the fascination there?
Yeah, it was probably the Casey's Top 40, like
Right. Right.
I loved that. That still sticks with me, obviously. And his voice, and just you would start to learn the songs that were hits at the time,
Yeah.
and you would just hope that the one that you loved would be number one on the list. It was such a big deal, right?
Right. Now, who were some
So
of your
funny.
favorite artists then?
Um, I loved Michael Jackson
Mm, mhm,
so much.
mhm.
I tried to moonwalk. I tried to do his, cool, like, slant, the moves he did.
Yeah,
Some of them anyway.
yeah.
And I always wanted a leather jacket like his, and just yeah.
Gloves? Did you do the gloves?
Oh yeah. I didn't have the glove.
Mm, mhm.
Um, I wasn't supposed to be listening to music on the radio at the time, so it was kind of like a hidden type of thing, you know. Um,
Understood.
so I listened to a lot of gospel music as a
Hmm.
child. Lots of I don't remember any of their names, but
Hmm.
I was raised in a very like spirit-based church
Yeah,
as a kid, so there was a lot of like high energy gospel music going on at
yeah,
the time, and
yeah.
that's what would be played in the car, and that's what
Hmm.
I knew. So
So was there then a taboo in the sense that you don't listen to secular music?
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely, yep,
Yeah. That's kind
yeah.
of my upbringing. I've talked about that several times, in the church
Oh,
we were going to, it was quote unquote the devil's music. I
right.
mean, I get it for the context, but, as a 14-year-old, and then even when I started making a little money playing drums, because I was playing drums in the church.
Oh
Here's the thing, and
wow.
I say this sensitively, but playing drums in the church, and then they say, well, you don't want to go and play in the clubs, you don't want to do that. But as I was playing in the clubs paid. You know what I mean? And so
Right.
it was just
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
there were so many different things. We can go down that aisle if you want to, but
Oh
I
yeah.
just thought in the way that you framed it, that might have been the household that you grew up in, because I grew up in my formative years similarly.
Oh,
Now, my mom did allow us to listen to other styles of music, and that's how I fell in love with jazz. But at the same time, there was the stigma from quote unquote the church, not
yes.
necessarily Jesus, but the church that
Right.
said this
Yeah.
is the box that you have to fit in as a musician.
Right. And it makes
Interesting.
sense too. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Yeah, it does make sense. Like I said, maybe one day you'll come back and we'll just talk about that aspect
Oh yeah.
only, because I
Yeah.
think one thing that happened, well, two things actually, and then we'll get back to you.
Oh no, please. I love this conversation.
But it's interesting because one thing happens is the fact that as a musician, as a young musician, you're still learning and you still don't know what you don't know. It causes some confusion from the spiritual end. You
Yeah.
know, the second thing, it breeds or has a tendency to breed some rebellion because, well, you're bucking against authority as a teenager and going, well, I'm going to listen to it anyway. And it just,
Yeah.
there's a better way to do it. So
Yes, I agree.
anyway,
I agree.
your
My
life
kid,
now.
my kids are listening to Nirvana and House
Mhm,
of Pain right now,
mhm,
so
mhm,
it's
mhm.
really strange. Actually, that's a whole other conversation.
It really is.
Genetics, how genetics play into musicians' lives.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of musicians, like, I won't go too far on this, but I've just noticed that a lot of musicians,
Mhm,
they have a line of other family members in the past that were also musicians.
mhm. Correct.
And, yeah, so I think
Correct.
there's some kind of genetic thing at play
Oh
there.
yeah. Oh
And then,
yeah.
and then just long story short, like I have four children. So my daughter, Trinity, she's 21 now and
Mhm.
married. But she went through these stages of musical interest, and they were almost identical to mine during
Understood.
my teen years, including right down to like Joni Mitchell and Carole
Mhm.
King and Led Zeppelin and Nirvana and all those, like,
Yeah.
all of it. And then my son Turner, who's 15, he's going down another path that's like kind of hitting other areas of bands that and musicians that I liked when I was a teenager, and same for my son Jacob and Caden.
Yeah.
Um, but it's really weird. Like, how
Yeah.
did you
No.
know that?
I understand completely with respect to the genetics, with respect
Yeah.
to just it being in you, and probably what you may have played around the house while they were growing up. I know for our three girls whose ages ranged from 38 to 20,
Hmm.
and with the three of them, I mean, they still listen to and still introduce me to similar music of the stuff that we played around the house, because we were 70. My wife and I are 70 kids, so Earth,
Yeah.
Wind and Fire, Shaka Khan,
Cool.
Stevie Wonder, all of that. They
Oh yeah.
still listen to that stuff. And they are asking the questions, Jessica, like, okay, so when we're in our 50s, what are we going to have to hang on to from this generation?
Oh, yeah,
You know,
that's
it's really
a good
interesting
question.
because
Yeah.
you don't want to disrespect, but there was some substance in the
Oh,
music of that era. You mentioned Joni Mitchell. I mean, come on.
yeah, I know. Are you
You know,
serious right now?
right, right. I mean, there was substance.
Yeah,
There was a wholeness. There was a story that was being told, and it
exactly.
wasn't
Yep.
just about sex or murder or whatever.
Drugs.
So it's
Drugs.
drugs. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
really interesting.
It really is so interesting, actually. Um, and it,
So you lead me to another question, though.
mhm,
With respect to listening to your repertoire,
mhm.
you are I mean, you have your interest in hip hop and EDM and folk music and whatnot. Is that a result of the Casey Kasem top 40?
Oh, that definitely played into that.
Yeah, because I mean, you really do them well. You
Thank
don't
you.
feign those genres of music. I mean, I could really hear the elements coming through. So tell us
Thank
a little
you.
bit about that.
Oh, that's so cool. Thank you. Um, yeah, like even as a little girl, and I'm sure everybody has this story too, but I used to pick out like classical melodies. I think there was a Grey Poupon commercial when we were
Yeah,
little.
Great Poupon.
Yeah, I think that they had Beethoven's Pathétique as their theme song at one point, and such a beautiful melody. Oh my goodness. Um, and then, like, I somehow heard for release, on TV. They used to use more like classical music
Mhm.
here and there. You would just hear it. If you're a musician, a child that is gravitates towards music, you just hear it.
Yeah.
And so I would just like teach myself how to play
Mhm.
things. I never started formal training until 11 years old.
Mhm.
Um,
Was that on piano?
yes,
Mhm.
yeah. My first teacher, I went through my first level book in like a month, and she was like, "I don't think that I have enough to teach her," so she kicked me out. Not in a mean way, just
Right?
like so then I had a few teachers during my younger years, but
Mhm.
a lot of it was just like ear training big time, which is like
Yeah.
the hardest student to teach music to.
So now, when did singing come about? Were you writing, singing, and playing at the same time, or was there more on the playing aspect and singing came later?
I was always singing, always, always. I
Mhm.
still am.
Were you
um
in bands and
oh
whatnot,
yeah.
choirs? What were you doing?
Oh yeah, so from fourth grade, I guess, like as far as educationally, from fourth grade of elementary school all the way through like my 7 years of community college career, I was always in chorus every single year. Band, I played flute. I was first chair flute for that. And
Mhm.
speaking of jazz, what's that song? Da 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 dun 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 dun. I can't remember.
You should play that
Take
on your
five.
piano.
I think it's take five. I'm pretty sure. But anyway,
Oh,
yeah.
take five. Oh, yeah, yeah. Dave Brubeck.
Thank you. Yeah, exactly. There you go.
Yeah,
So cool.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
we did like
Great
a
guy.
7 piece flute. Uh, I don't know what you call a 7 piece group of flute players, but we all got up there and played our own parts of that, and it was really cool.
Wow.
And then I had a garage band when I was 13, and I was the lead
You're the
singer.
singer, lead singer.
Yes. I couldn't stand holding the microphone. It was so, I mean, we didn't even play for anybody. We were just
Mm,
in a garage,
yeah,
me and
yeah.
like three boys, and like we our repertoire consisted of Guns N' Roses,
Mhm.
and Metallica.
Could you
And
hit all the high parts? You did
yeah, yeah,
everything?
I loved Axl Rose.
Yeah. Did you have a guitar or did you just
Nope,
no?
nope, no guitar. Oh, we did. Oh, what was it? Oh my goodness. See, this is the thing. I'm so bad with song titles and
Yeah,
composer names. I just, ugh, I always get lost when I'm trying to find those. But
understood.
yeah, we did Aerosmith's one of those songs that Aerosmith wrote back in the
At the
70s.
time, right?
Yeah,
So
it's
you didn't play out at all? You didn't have any gigs? It was just
no, it was just playing in the garage, and then I didn't have a band, and then I became a singer-songwriter. I became really obsessed with Tori Amos during my teen years too.
okay. Yeah.
I loved the Cranberries, Dolores O'Riordan, so I tried to emulate her
Mhm,
subconsciously, I suppose, but
mhm.
I got heavily into writing piano and vocal pieces and would practice for hours in the basement at my parents' house on my piano.
Yeah.
So,
Wow.
yeah, just always, always, it's just been who I am my whole life.
So was the first piece of music released professionally, was that as Jessica Jenks, the artist, or were you already into sync licensing at that point?
Oh, yeah, sync licensing has only started like within the past 4 years.
Gotcha.
So I was to the core a singer songwriter.
Hmm.
I'd be playing out at cafes, open mic nights, like as much as I possibly could.
Yeah.
I had a good local following, and
Mhm.
actually, the theater professor at SUNY Adirondack, her and her husband were friends with Paula Cole's manager,
Hmm.
and they actually took my demo, gave it to him, and he wanted to get me signed. But this was like when my daughter was a baby. I was a young mom. I had my daughter when I was 21.
Hmm.
And I had to make a hard decision. And I don't
Sure.
know that it was like a totally conscious decision, but just like I just didn't feel like I could move and just tour, and you know what I mean?
Understood.
Living in upstate. And I ended up not doing that.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
yeah, but I continued playing shows and gigs and stuff, piano and vocals for a long time.
Oh,
I was a worship
that's
leader at
excellent.
my church for 4 years too.
All right.
So
All right. That's excellent. So you have that well, that's why you swim in so many genres, because you have that well-rounded approach
yeah.
to exactly what the song needs. Now, when did art, because you have some amazing art displayed, when
Uh,
did that happen? Is all of that interspersed
well,
or
I it's really weird because I've always loved art.
Mhm.
And like love art, like go to galleries with my daughter. I used to sit her in front of like Pablo Picasso and Rembrandt and stuff
Right.
at our local art gallery. We have a really nice one, the Hyde Collection in Glens Falls, New York.
Mhm.
But like I take my kids to Saturday morning art at one of the local museums where they would do stuff for kids,
Yeah.
and I'd be the one that's sitting there with the glue and the paper, and they're like, "Can we go now?" You know?
Wait a minute, wait a minute. I'm almost done.
But I always thought that I wasn't really an artist.
Mm.
I don't know. I did independent study art in high school. My brother was an artist in high school, and he got a painting framed and hung on the school wall, and and so I thought that I wasn't really like a good artist. I thought I was
Mhm.
just an average. I don't know. I loved it, but I just didn't like take off with it. But
Yeah.
recently I just started getting into painting, and I love it. It is so fun.
Wow.
So fun.
Wow. Well,
Yeah.
that is an incredible outlet. I mean, you
Yeah.
do some really unique, beautiful work, and
Thank
you're
you.
just a creative of all times. I'm kind of slashed by that. It's like, wow,
Oh,
you know, and
oh,
I really am. I
thank you.
wanted to ask you though, just to go back a little bit, as you were gigging, as you were playing a lot of cafes, a lot of things, and writing your own music, was there ever, because we talked about your formative years and the structure of the church, was there ever a clash between either you and the church or you and your parents, and to say, well, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do it professionally? Was there any pushback?
That's a good question. Well, we actually stopped going to church when I was 10,
Mhm.
and I don't really know why, but so there was a clash,
Mhm.
definitely. It started with the garage band and singing Guns N'
Guns
Roses
N'
songs.
Roses. I knew Guns N' Roses was going to be a factor.
Which now Guns N' Roses is nothing compared to what's out now.
Absolutely.
Oh my
Absolutely.
goodness. Probably every generation could say that because everything gets more and more uh,
Unfortunately.
risque or,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
is unfortunate. That's a tangent I could go off on,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
as a mom and a teacher, but yeah, definitely like then I ended up quitting the band, which I was not happy about.
Mm-hmm.
um,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, so I ended up really just like embracing everything at school and
Yeah.
just really went inside of myself. I was already introverted as it was. So like when I say I practiced for hours every day, I was in my basement. I sound like Quasimodo. Um, I was in the down in the basement playing my piano for hours every
Right.
day. My dad would be like, "Can you quiet down?" I was obsessed with the pedal, so the damper pedal was always down, not appropriately, and yeah, it was
Funny.
always loud.
Funny.
Yeah, obsession. It was
Okay.
totally an obsession. I couldn't stop. Like,
Hmm.
I do wish that. Well, that's a tangent. That's another tangent. I'll wait.
That's right.
But yeah, so there was that clash, and then I started doing like open mic nights when I got my driver's license and could drive.
Hmm.
And I don't think my parents were really like opposed to it, but at that point there was just this major internal complex. I
Mm.
think other just to make myself feel better. I think a lot of other musicians that grew up with a similar kind of story,
Yeah.
I'm sure you can relate. It was like an inner conflict. Am I doing the wrong thing right now? Am I
Mm.
not? Am I serving the wrong master? Am I
Hmm.
like
Hmm.
leading people in the wrong direction
Yeah.
or something?
Sure.
But then I was
Sure.
like, no, I'm not. But
Hmm.
am I at the same time?
Yeah. No, I
You
get
know?
it. I get it.
Like, don't look at me. You're not supposed to look at me, but at the same time I'm in front of you, so of course you're going to look at me.
Hmm.
There was a stint where I attended a lot of like Baptist church. I did used to go visit a Baptist church with my cousin and her mom, my aunt and uncle.
Hmm.
And then I started going to a Baptist church in my early 20s as a single mom with my daughter. And then it really became a conflict because I mean, you don't clap for people. I mean, it makes sense not to clap for worship leaders or like
Hmm.
because it's not about the musician,
Yeah.
but there's a greater level of humility. I think like in the Baptist church, it's just like really they're more it's more humility based, like
Hmm.
self-sacrificing type.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, so yeah, I did that for a while. And
Yeah.
then so there was definitely a clash there, but I just
Yeah.
never stopped. I know I was always recording
Yeah.
new songs that I wrote, torturing people with calling them up, setting the phone on the piano. You have to hear the new song I wrote. Usually my
Understood.
cousin.
Right?
It's probably why we don't talk a lot. No, I'm kidding. She has 7 kids actually now, so that's why we don't talk a
And
lot.
she has caller ID. So,
Yeah, that's funny. That is so funny.
you know, but I do, I understand the internal conflict that as a true worshiper of the Lord,
Mhm.
and saying, well, there's this dichotomy between what's sacred and what's secular.
Yeah.
And one of the, you know, one of the situations that I had to work through, and I'm going to be concise, but as being an associate pastor at a church, and yet I know that I had direction from the Lord to put this band Sound Doctrine together. I
Mhm.
knew it was going to be jazz. I knew that the format was going to be, we were going to be playing in venues that any other quote unquote secular band was a part of. And there was a clash with leadership on that because I'm youth pastor at that time. And how do you justify the two? And I really had to go into some deep prayer and some, soul searching to say, okay, is it about me or is it about what I know God is calling me to do? Just because I know that this music, he placed it inside of me, and
Right.
he wouldn't do that if, I mean, anyway, I'm trying to be
Yeah.
concise,
Oh,
but
it's
those,
hard to be concise about this topic.
well,
Definitely.
it's interesting because those are, I mean, you go, it's not a snap decision. You
Right.
have to realize that as a musician, you have been giving a great gift, and
Yeah.
you are, in a sense, like a Pied Piper. So you can lead people
Exactly.
into, a realm that's going to strengthen them, encourage them,
Mm.
uh, 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 engage in worship to the Lord Almighty, or you can lead them down a path of destruction. You can do it. I mean, you have
Yeah.
power in your hands to do that. So,
Right.
being
Right.
concise, I
Yes.
I had to come to peace with, this is who God has called me to be. And sometimes I'll write a worship song, and
Mhm.
sometimes I'll write a song about, hey, how much I just love life and just love to relax and hang out and whatnot. And I think
Oh, yeah.
that's all God, that He's not
Yeah.
so sliced up and compartmentalized that you
Right.
only have to do this
Right.
as a musician. So
Right.
anyway, there's
Yeah.
there's
And
a lot that goes into it, and for
there's
those of
so much.
you, absolutely, and for
Yeah.
those of you who are watching or listening, and you're going, okay, where are they now?
Where did you go?
There, we can
Yeah.
talk about this, but we will come back
Yeah.
and discuss it, and
Yeah.
just that will be the focus and the topic. But yeah,
That's
that
a
inner
great.
conflict is real.
It's real, folks.
It's real.
Preach.
So now tell me what you're working on presently, or I should say, are there any challenges that you are working through presently as far as your career is concerned, that you're saying, hey, these are the steps that I'm doing to overcome it? I think we had a conversation like this on the Mastermind group, but is there a challenge that is in front of you, and you're saying,
Yeah.
okay, these are the steps that I'm doing to overcome that, other than signing up for Liberty University?
So I have this. I just became a publisher in
Mm.
January
Mhm.
under the guidance of Michelle Weiss Maslin, who I know you interviewed, right?
Absolutely.
Yep. Excuse me. I took her 20-week course,
Mhm.
Song to Sync, and she was absolutely, you know, how do I
She's
say?
great. She's fantastic.
Yeah, she was like, you have to become a publisher.
Mhm.
and and for good reason,
Yeah.
because when you're represented by your PRO and you're a writer, like I
Right.
had to be on my writer's account, and that was one thing.
Mhm.
But once you create a publishing account, once you pay your due, you become an official bona fide publisher.
Yeah.
Um, that changes your status a
Mhm.
lot in the industry.
It does.
It almost feels, and this isn't from like Michelle's point of view. This isn't the reasoning behind it, but what I've noticed, or at least for myself, feel like
Yeah.
um, it feels like, okay, now any syncing that I possibly will do, it kind of creates a boundary. Like, I'm a publisher,
Yeah.
like now you can claim 200% of your writers, 100% writer share, 100% publisher share for
That's
your
right.
royalties. It almost protects you, and it like communicates something about who you are as an artist, but also a business person.
Yes.
um yeah, like, so now I own Small Seed. I'm registered as Small Seed. So small, I call it Small Seed Publishing just because
Mhm.
Small Seed could be anything.
Sure. Yeah.
um,
Sure.
but it stems from my upbringing, my faith, the word.
Yeah.
um, if you have faith as small as, even as small as a mustard seed,
Right.
um, then, and I guess it was spoken because of the people, their disbelief in their faith, in believing, this is from the Bible. So
Oh yeah.
yeah,
Absolutely. Preach. Now you preach. It's
their
your
their
turn.
dis their disbelief. Jesus was talking to them. Who was it? The Philistines?
No,
Or no?
actually, he was talking to his disciples at the time. You
Oh,
know.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he was saying, like, because of your disbelief, I say, if you even have faith as small as a mustard seed, then you can say to that mountain, move, and it will move.
That's correct.
Basically telling them, like, you don't have to be such tryhards or sweaty tryhards, as kids
Right.
like to say these days, trying to stay relevant.
Yeah.
Um,
I've never heard that
but,
before, so I'm
oh,
not.
yeah. It's a gamer term. My kids, I heard it from my boys who were like obsessed with Fortnite.
Okay.
I should own a share of Fortnite, but we won't talk about that. Um, uh, Epic Games, I just want you
Yeah.
to know that I was a huge part of your success. And
Mm.
if you have a sound engineering job for me, I'd be happy to
Ready,
help
ready
you
to
out with
go.
that. Yeah.
Ready for it.
But did I answer the question? I'm not sure.
Yeah, Small Seed Publishing
Oh,
and
yeah,
the
yeah.
the challenge that you're working
Mm.
through
Oh, yeah,
right now
challenge.
that
Yeah,
you've conquered is you took the course from song to sync.
yeah,
Everybody should watch the interview that we did with Michelle Weiss Maslin.
yes,
She's absolutely on point,
yes.
and she's very sweet but very adamant.
Oh, yeah.
And
She's a New
and
York City girl.
boy, and she's like right on point like
Yeah,
that. So
yeah.
that's what you've done though. And now that you're more invested in sync, and we'll get into the video game aspect in a second, because you
Mhm.
had sent me to some links to Videogame Academy. We'll talk about that. But with
Yes,
respect to that, you are seeing yourself in a brand new light because you own your publishing. And now when you go to the negotiation table, you
yeah.
know that you can negotiate the publishing or the songwriter's fees when you're dealing with
That's right.
music supervisors or
Yes.
the libraries, which
Yes.
is very good.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yes. That hands down.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. That's a whole, I'm sure you had the conversation with Michelle, but if you didn't, that's a whole show. We need to do like a whole series on that alone.
Absolutely. A-
Negotiating rights and royalties and all of that because um
And
just really
she has a different perspective than I thought she would have. Not turning this into that conversation, but
yeah.
I think it bears attention that in the many negotiations that she has done with over 5,000 placements, there were some times where it was more advantageous for her to say, okay, just pay me what you have the budget for and not advertise, and then reap on the back end of
Yeah.
what she would have got from upfront money had she stood her ground and said, hey, I need this.
That's right.
Really
There's a
interesting stuff.
fine line there because listen, there's there's I don't even know how many, but the statistic is out there somewhere. But there's so many other people that are you that are able to do what you do or better. And that's just a fact. And people, musicians don't want to think that, but it's true. Like
True.
if you drop the ball in any way,
Yeah.
you could ruin your chance. You could ruin your reputation,
Absolutely.
like, and burn bridges and everything. So like, sometimes not demanding and being an entitled person is
Correct.
actually more beneficial to you
Correct.
than being the tough businesswoman
That's
or
correct.
man
That's
from
correct.
the get-go. Like, you owe this to me.
Right.
It's totally the exact opposite. You
Yeah.
have to be service based and
That's right.
entrepreneurship. I mean,
That's right.
I love entrepreneurship because
Yes, you do.
it's so exciting. Like, everybody should be an entrepreneur of some sort.
I agree.
I wish that they would teach that more in
Yeah,
schools to kids, even because this world would be so different if
definitely.
it were for that.
Definitely.
But yeah, you just can't approach your career, your music, your composing career, your
Yeah.
artist career like that. Like, you owe this to me,
Hmm.
especially as a woman. And I don't want to harp
Yeah.
on it.
Understood.
But I actually learned this from Empath, the letter M, and then
Mhm.
Path, Empath. Um, they're a music library. Mirette is the owner. And I actually met them. I was introduced to her through her husband. He was the first person I ever wrote a message to on LinkedIn. This
Hmm.
is crazy. Um, and I was a noob. I was a total noob to everything. And I'm like, if there's anything you can share on how I can get my foot in the door in the industry, that's kind of not really the way you want to approach professionals,
Sure.
especially of status,
Or
or yeah. But he actually wrote me back, and and it was just crazy because he's worked with Hans Zimmer, um, who I love. Hans Zimmer. I took his master class through
me too.
masterclass.com.
Me too.
Did you?
Me too.
Oh,
Yes.
isn't it
Yes, I
so
did.
great? Oh my gosh.
Absolutely.
I love
Absolutely.
masterclass.com. See, here we go. Give me an A.
That's right.
Give me an H.
That's
Give me an
right. Like minds, though. Like minds. Yeah, that was absolutely excellent.
A. Yeah.
Absolutely.
We need to write a cheer for Hans Zimmer or
Yeah.
masterclass even.
Give me an M.
Yes. Give me an A. Oh, I could totally bust into a cheer right now, but I won't. I so wanted to do that cool triangle pyramid thing that they did where you like stand on people's back. I always
Mhm.
wanted to be a gymnast. That's a tangent though. But
Maybe hey, you still have time. Maybe you've look at all of the stuff that you've conquered,
yeah,
and so maybe that's it. But you got to tell me a little bit more about so you've contacted this gentleman. He wrote you
yeah,
back,
yes.
and what happened?
And he was so super cool. I actually talked to the perfect gentleman on LinkedIn for my first ever message.
Hmm.
Um, and first ever like networking attempt, more
Yeah.
professional networking attempt.
Did they
Um,
receive? Were you able to submit to them?
he was like, my wife owns Empath. They're all about getting women and like helping women get like sync placements. They call it gender parity in our industry.
Hmm.
And what I learned, well, so anyway, I'll try not to be too tangent-ish, but so I ended up getting her direct email, and um, I have two songs in their library now.
Excellent.
Um, one of them is an ambient track called Ambient Orange Sunset, and then
Mhm.
the other one is The Big Break, and it's on their Criminal Thoughts album. Their
Mm.
Criminal Thoughts. Oh, yeah, it's like how libraries have like collections of
Oh
certain
yeah.
genres, and yeah. So that actually just got placed onto that collection, and I'm super excited about it because it's very crunchy, synthy, Hans Zimmer like. And it sounds like I use Logic Pro X and I have Alchemy, and
Yeah.
just the sounds that I get so excited. Not that you're surprised by that, but
Yeah, I'm not.
I'll be like looking through all of the different instruments, the virtual instruments.
Yeah.
Well, not looking, but like listening to sampling them to decide what I want to use. And I hear it like the first second I touch the key. If it sounds cool to me, I'm just like, I'm jumping out of my chair. I'm just like, yeah. Like,
I get
I
it.
get, I get so stoked about it.
Yeah. And it's
Especially those synthy
inspirational
sounds.
because that's
Yeah.
your launch pad. You can jump off of that sound. Yeah.
Yeah. It's high energy for me, for sure.
Hmm.
Like I can drop two notes into my DAW, just literally go into the edit function, drop two notes in there and be like, I got this. Just the idea just flows. And I think that's like,
Understand.
um, if you're trying to get into this industry or you're just starting out or whatever, um, yeah, if you want to get really good and hone in on your skills, like just do it so much,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Every single day.
Hmm.
Um, it's because the more you do it,
Yeah.
you really do open up like a floodgate. The
Yeah.
floodgates open of your creative flow. Like
Yeah.
everything just starts flowing and you don't even have to think about it. It's not like,
Yeah.
well, what am I going to write for this harmony? Or I don't,
Sure.
you know what I mean? It's just so inspiring, and it almost becomes effortless.
Hmm.
I challenged myself with a site called the QTube.
Hmm.
Um, you can go and you can legally get a video, and you can like score to that video as long as you give as long as you hashtag or tag them on YouTube like the company or whatever, or
Gotcha.
and you hashtag the QTube itself.
Hmm.
Um, and it gives composers a chance to practice syncing and writing specifically to picture.
Yeah.
That helped me. Another thing that helped me was through masterclass. I met a man who told me about 1 hour compo. And
Hmm.
what it is every Thursday night, it's like a 1 hour composition challenge with just other random composers. It's through Discord, and um, that helped me so much too, because like you have to write a track to the pictures that they give you right at 8 o'clock
Wow.
within 1 hour and mix it, and then you go to a listening party, they call it, and everybody listens to each other's tracks that they wrote, and
Excellent.
and it's a big that's a cheerleader party too. It's like, whoa, that's kicks butt, and there are a lot of like EDM type guys, gals, edgy techno type
Sure.
people,
Sure.
so it's all right on, dude, and with the memes and everything. It's really fun, and it's just you learn how to produce so quickly, and
Hmm.
then I started doing the 2 hour compo on Sundays, and same thing, but you then write a track to a video that they show you at the beginning when the time strikes 2 o'clock or something p.m. You have until 4 to compose a piece to a moving visual, like a YouTube clip. So
Yeah.
I would just push mute and sit there and compose to the video and trying to sync up like a drum hit or
Yeah.
some change in the energy of it or whatever, and
Hmm.
try to really write to what the visual video was,
Wow.
and then you have to mix and master it, and then you have a listening party. And I would highly encourage people to get involved in this, because it just because if you want to be in sync licensing, you have to be able to turn around tracks within
Quickly. Yeah.
24 hours,
Yeah.
because music supervisors are so busy,
Yeah.
from what I know, that like if they need music for a production and
Mhm.
they're on a deadline and they're answering to their music editor or whatever, um, you need to be able to provide for them to step up to
Yeah.
the plate when they need you to, no matter what is going on in your life,
Correct.
because
Correct.
like I said, there's a million people that are waiting to take your job.
Sure. No,
And
I've heard both sides of that, where some musicians have gotten out of it because the time is prohibitive to what they do have going on in their lives. But then somebody else fills in that hole and go, hey, I'll do it. I'll chop it up. You need it in 15 minutes. I got you. You know what I mean?
right, yeah,
Understood.
we should have the pulse oximetry device on my wrist, on my finger, so we can see how that affects my physical being right now. My
Yeah.
hands are sweating just thinking about
But that's it. I
you
mean,
have
and it's like when you're called up to bat, you're called up and the bases are loaded. Will you, at least get
to.
one of those guys home? Will you do it?
That's right. I
Yeah.
love that.
Stand
That's
the
a great
delivery.
analogy.
Yeah,
Home
absolutely.
run, baby. Out
So
of the park.
tell me a little out of the park, boom, or at least one guy. If you can strike a home run, if you get a
Yeah.
base hit, somebody's coming home. So
Oh, yeah. Isn't that a nice analogy?
thank you very much.
Yeah,
I thought about that all night. But anyway,
yeah. Just for this interview right
just
now.
for this, I just want to say that, hey, I can stick the analogy in right here. But
You know how I am with my analogies,
that's right.
Jerry.
And we love them. But now
Yeah, they're
tell me
great.
about the Video Game Academy, though. You're a part of writing for music for games as well, not just for film cues. Tell me a little bit
Yeah.
about that.
So I discovered, how did I discover that? Oh yeah. So I downloaded an audiobook of by Stephen Moline,
Hmm.
Steven. See, I have to do the cheerleader thing right now, just for a
Yeah,
second.
that's
Moline,
cool.
Melin, and he wrote Family First Composing, or
Mhm.
Composer. Family First Composer, I think that's what it is. But it's on audiobook, and I used to be listening to that in between like my listening to my lectures for college
Right?
last fall, and it's so cool. He's an entrepreneur who's really made it for himself.
Mhm.
I ended up actually like being able to talk to him, and these people that are in the industry with us, they're all just like us. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Right.
But it's like it's kind of like you're talking to a celebrity when you're talking to the author of the book that inspired you. It's like,
Of
oh my
course.
God, I got to talk to, which
Right.
reminds me, I got to talk to Ben Folds on Instagram, but that's another day. Um,
Okay. That's cool.
but yeah, like it. So I got to talk to Stephen Moline, and that was really cool. And and then I found through that somehow I stumbled upon the Video Game Music Academy,
Hmm.
which is run by Daniel Halsman, who's a really energetic entrepreneur. Um, I believe he worked for Apple. He's out of Boston, and it's
Hmm.
like this. It's like a club kind of. You can pay monthly or you can pay for an annual membership. I ended up getting an annual membership
Hmm.
because there's classes in there. He's got spot on advice for his members. He answers every email message instantly.
Wow.
You have, even if it's just to say, hey, how are you liking the academy? And I think there's over 200 members. I think, don't quote me on that, but
Sure.
yeah. Um, but yeah, he um, just really sets the example for
Hmm.
people in this industry trying to get to where they want to be.
Specifically, getting their music into games.
Yes,
Correct. Hmm.
exactly. Yes, as a composer.
Yeah.
So I went there as a TVQ, uh, like aspiring film composer.
Hmm.
Through that process, I realized that the amount of films that are available to score compared to the amount of cues or tracks you can write for video games, even if they're indie games, is a very different rate. Like the ratio is very off balance,
I see.
because everybody wants to be John Williams, everybody wants to be Hans Zimmer,
Sure.
but the chances you're limiting your potential for growth if
Hmm.
you just have your mindset that I want to be a film composer. I think that those people probably have a higher rate of just giving up. I forget what that's called, but like
Uh-huh.
they just fold their cards because so you get my point,
Yeah.
but yeah, like there's so many opportunities in the gaming industry for music.
Hmm.
Um and it's not about landing some big budget film.
Yeah.
You want to get, even if you get like little jobs
You're right.
that get that ball rolling, you just need a little push
That's right.
in the right direction,
That's
you know.
correct.
And so Daniel Halsman is really cool, and they have like, I think it's twice a month, they have something called the round table where four people get to sign up. I've done a lot of them.
Hmm.
Um, First come, first serve, to be in what he calls the hot seat. And so, like right now, I'm in the hot seat,
Hmm.
but there would be three other people also in the hot seat, and you would listen to the track that they submit, and then your peers talk about it on a Zoom call, and then that goes on to Video Game Academy and other places, wherever
Wow.
Dan posts it. But it's really cool. And they have the when I first started, it was a 21-day composition challenge
Hmm.
monthly, and then um, I think I kind of helped Dan come up with this idea. I hope that's okay to say, Daniel.
I'm sure you
Uh,
did. I'm sure you did.
Make stuff happen. No,
Right. That's right.
you
Hey,
got
let's
to
get
help
it
each other.
on.
Yeah, right. So I told him about the 1 hour compo thing, and shortly after he developed a 7-day challenge.
Mm.
So it's the 7 days of video game music challenge. And every day the challenge is to write 2 to 4 bars of music. And each month there's a theme. This past month, the theme was cool because he tied in a famous video game composer, David Wise. And right now he's did like Donkey Kong Country and lots of big
Wow.
name video games. Um, and he's a very established person
Hmm.
in that.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people in Video Game Music Academy were like so stoked about it. They're like, it'd be like if I got to meet Hans Zimmer for them. It was like, I get to meet David Wise, my
Wow.
hero.
Yeah.
So that was cool. And he's working on a game called Salamandos right now.
Hmm.
and they're like salamander characters, and they fight, I think. So anyway, each day has a theme, and
Hmm.
you write like 2 to 4 or more if you want bars, and you
Hmm.
post it on the Video Game Music Academy, and everybody can listen, and it's really really cool, and everybody's so insightful and supportive. I
Wow.
found a really nice community
Yeah.
of people there, and it's like you have your little shell that you can incubate in with
Yeah.
these other people, and they're not like competitive, and it's just a really cool community of people, and I highly recommend it. And
Yeah.
Daniel will give you the code, but you can get a free month to try it out,
Excellent.
and it's definitely, I highly recommend it for
Well,
any.
I'll make sure that
Yeah,
I put these links that you've talked about in the show
yeah,
description so that people can avail themselves, to it.
awesome. Yeah,
Do that.
I'll help you out with that, Jerry.
I know you will. You're the scribe.
I
So, so
I
you
love
know,
that word, the scribe.
yeah, you're the scribe. You write it down. You make sure we,
Uh,
we're right on
this is
point.
my son Jacob.
Hey, Jacob,
Yep,
blessings to you, man.
Hello.
What's up, sir?
he's a teenager, and come here, get your hair out of your face, and say hi to the
Hello.
music community. He's an aspiring guitarist,
All right.
and he's doing so good. This is Jerry B.
Cool.
He owns EntreMusician, and this will be on national television, international video broadcast.
It's going to be everywhere. We're going to plaster it
So you're
everywhere.
on this now.
And you're going to get 3,300 million views. Okay.
Victory!
That's right. So let me ask you this. First of all, those of you who watch the Entre Musician, you know that you can find us on VizD, and you can find us if you're in Northeast Ohio, Western PA, on the Armstrong Cable Network, Channel 100. Much love to Greg Rotan. Much love to Tay Brown on VizD. Now, before I ask Michelle the final question, those of you who are subscribers to the Entre Musician, you know that you can click on the Backstage Pass, because we've only talked about so many things, but we're going to spend a few minutes with uh, Jessica behind the backstage, and she's going to give even more valuable advice to you Entre musicians out there. So make sure that you avail yourself to that. It's very easy to subscribe to the Entre Musician. All you have to do is go to the EntreMusician.com, click on the Backstage Pass, and there are 4 tiers, 4 levels of engagement. You can be a fan, a follower, a friend, or a family member, and there's so much access to everything that's going on, even being a part of the Entre Musician Mastermind Collaborative, which Jessica is a member of, like right now.
Yeah,
And
it's
we
awesome.
talk about everything that is deep. We help to solve problems, and we want to make sure that we collaborate with you. So go to the Backstage Pass. Now, Jessica,
Yes.
let me ask you this. There was a question I'm sure you had in your mind. Jerry's going to ask me this. I'm ready for it. I've got my seatbelts on. But up until this point, I haven't asked that question. Can you now answer the unasked question?
I still have the questions that I didn't actually answer or from earlier. I'm
Well,
like, oh, I
answer
never
one
did
of them.
answer that. I never did answer that question about the challenge that I'm currently facing, or
Well, here's the thing. We'll talk about that behind the Backstage Pass, but
cool.
pick one of those and just
Yeah.
answer it for us.
Hmm.
Because
Oh, so
I'm
you,
on your time, and I know you have a tight schedule, but
oh,
I want us to hang out backstage. But what is that answer to that question that I haven't asked, or the unfinished answer?
ooh. Are you testing my mind
I
reading?
am.
Oh
Yes.
no.
Yes, of course.
What is my dream job?
Mm, great.
Is that the question?
Great. Go for it. What is
Oh
your
no, why did
dream
I say
job?
that? Why did I just limit myself?
Now you have to answer it.
I am now encumbered.
I thought you were doing your dream job though.
I am. I totally am.
Mhm.
I am. Definitely.
I
Now I'm
mean,
really in the hot seat.
that's
No,
correct.
yeah, it's good to be in the hot seat. It keeps us going. But
Absolutely.
I do so many jobs. I guess like just really fine pointing everything that I do because
Mhm.
I'm a doer. I
Yeah.
do a lot. And I own Happy Keys Piano School.
Mhm.
Um, that's my pride and joy. I've been a piano teacher since 2002 and started my own business, Happy Keys Piano School. I am the daughter of two entrepreneurs, so it just made sense that that happened. And
Absolutely.
yeah, and so I business has been so amazing and good as the owner and singular teacher of Happy Keys Piano School. It's actually evolved to voice lessons, guitar, percussion,
Mhm.
composition. I It's
Oh,
kind of actually really part of my teaching style now. Like you're going to end up composing, and it's amazing what comes out of kids and adults
yeah.
when they are taught how to even understand what their own creative process is.
Mhm.
It's so cool. Like I really love that.
Yeah,
um,
absolutely.
yeah, I started a SoundCloud page over the pandemic just for Happy Keys students. I took
Wow.
their compositions, I produced them in Logic, and then mix them, my like lightly mix,
Sure.
and dropped their original compositions onto that SoundCloud page. And it's like, I'm
Mhm.
famous, I'm on SoundCloud. I'm teaching them about PROs. They're like 10-year-old composers. You have
That's
to get a
beautiful.
PRO.
That's
Like,
beautiful.
tell them as much as you can that you never knew from the get-go.
That's exactly
Um,
correct.
you know what I mean?
I
Train them up
do.
in the way they should go, and they will not depart from it,
That's right.
right?
That's
Um,
right.
and it's just, yeah, that's really important, actually. Um,
Wow.
but
Well,
and
that's
production.
fantastic. Let me
Yeah.
say this to you because I know that you are on a tight schedule. You told me about that. I want to make sure that I respect your time.
Oh,
But
I'm totally fine.
oh, that's cool.
I'm
Well,
here for you, Jerry.
say it again.
I'm here for you, Jerry,
Oh,
and everybody listening.
thank you. Thank
That's
you.
right.
Well,
That's
this
right.
is Jessica Jenks. She is an incredible, dynamic singer songwriter, film, TV composer, video game music creator, artist, poet,
Teacher.
teacher. It just goes on and on and on. But
Come on.
again, for those of you who are subscribed to us, we are ending our conversation right here, but we're going to have a wonderful conversation behind the backstage. So join
Amazing.
us there, and peace and blessings to you. Hey, that's Jessica Jenks. She's an EntreMusician. My name is Jerry B. I am an EntreMusician. But you know what? Most importantly, so are you. We will see you again next time. God bless.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, thank you for watching. See
Bye-bye.
you so soon.